This is Near-DeathTV. I'm your host, LURA KETCHLEDGE. I'm also an author. In 1979, I became a near-death experiencer. I chose to explain the truth I learned about the afterlife, reincarnation, and near-death experience through my fictional book series, The Near-Death Saga. While dead, I was shown all human beings are shrouded in ignorance by design, in order to learn valuable lessons in each incarnation. When you die, the artificial facade falls away, and we awaken from the dream into reality. For more information, you can find us at neardeathtv.com. Please join us as we explore the after effects of near-death experience. Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Near-Death TV. Today, our special guest for her third interview is Dr. PMH Atwater. Hello, Dr. Atwater. How are you today?
Well, hi, I'm just fine.
Well, I just want to tell the listeners that, you have a variety of books that you've written. Today, we're going to talk about a certain book, but you've written 18 books and done more extensive research on near-death experience than anybody else in the world. So today, can you tell me about the book we'll be discussing?
Well, today's book is titled The Forever Angels, Near-Death Experiences in Childhood and Their Lifelong Impact.
My God,
Naturally, it's about kids. You betcha.
It's a fascinating subject. And of course, a near-death experience would be so dramatic for a child more than an adult. Can you tell?
Well, in this particular study, dear, I zeroed in on near-death experiences at birth up to the age of 5. So I'm talking about the little bitty ones.
Oh, fantastic.
Nobody else has done that.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us, can you start it off?
Sure. Okay. I'm looking for, or I was looking for only those people who had a near-death experience when science, when medicine, when psychologists say that can't happen. Okay. And I found out that yes, indeed, it does. So when we're beginning at birth, I'm amazed at how many people could remember their birth. This is a study of 397 people. 1/3 could clearly, I'm going to emphasize that, clearly remember their birth in detail. The rest of them got bits and pieces, but pretty much remembered their birth as well. So these are kids up to the age of 5. One of the big deals in near-death research has been, this business about memory before and after. Well, we're dealing now with children who had no before.
Right.
A very different look.
Well, what did your interviewers say? What was their experience like?
Well, you got to read the book because there's lots and lots and lots of different experiences.
Well, could you just select one that you found particularly interesting?
Okay, let me give you the case of Penny.
Okay.
Let me quote from Penny. The most profound memory, that is to say, while she's in the womb, was my mother smoking. I remember getting excited in utero when she would feel anxious because I knew that bad taste was coming and soon I would feel high. Doctors tell you they tell expectant mothers, you know, you don't have to worry too much about smoking and drinking. This is not going to affect your child. Wrong. It does indeed, and those kids remember it.
Wow, wow. Gosh, my mom smoked a lot when she was pregnant with me. That's probably why I was a little bit lower in birth weight. But so the baby really caught a buzz while she was in the womb?
Lots of things happened, you know, while she was in the womb, and she could remember them. Let me give you another one.
Okay.
This is the case of Alma. She said, it was during this time that I experienced my first visit to a place not of earth, when my abuser would mount me. This is a little girl, about 2 years old.
Oh.
And the male is a visiting friend of the family. So let me continue. When my abuser would mount me, covering my nose with his stomach area, I would suffocate and pass out. Now there's drawings of these two cases in the book. So you get a very clear picture of Alma going up high and hovering near the ceiling. So Alma is up in the ceiling looking down at what's happening to her on the bed with this fat guy on top of her, literally suffocating her. And one of the things I want to call to attention, you know, we don't think about this, but it's very, very true. When children, actually, anybody of any age, but especially children, are having a near-death experience or having an out-of-body experience like this, it's literally a defense mechanism. It's their way of protecting themselves, i.e. their soul or the personality, or, you know, whatever you want to call that core self. It's their way of protecting that core self while their body is being abused.
Oh my God, that poor child. Oh my gosh.
Oh dear, I got all kinds of cases in here. Certainly from all over the world. I had 3 who were raised in the voodoo religion. They never knew anything about God, the Bible, you know, never heard of that before. Then I had several who suffered incredible abuse. One of them had 17 near-death experiences before the age of 6, well, starting at the age of 6 weeks. So from 6 weeks until about 9 years old, she had 17 near-death experiences. With Judy, the only reason her parents had her is because they wanted someone to use in satanic rituals. So I ran into that kind of thing too, where people were bringing children into this world just to be used for rituals.
Mind-blowing, the evil out there. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it is. But in the case of Judy, you will especially love to read about Judy because after she got over that period, and certainly abuse continued afterward, but when she finally became a teenager, she could leave home, she grew up, she went through, of course, a lot of trauma, had a lot of therapy, but she finally reached the point in her life where she could look back at what happened to her, and she could forgive her parents. Look at that.
It's very generous.
A terribly abused girl who finally was able to go back and forgive her parents for what they did to her. I just think that's stunning.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, on a lighter note, happier, maybe we'll just switch the channels to some more happier experiences with the near death in children. Um, was there ever a kid that had a near death experience that, found some pets and some, had some joy in the afterlife?
Oh, certainly a lot of them. What I've talked about so far is, you wanted some special cases, okay?
Yeah.
I gave you some special cases.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of them who were born during wartime.
Oh. Wow.
And they could look down and see what was happening to their body and their mothers. Had, of course, a lot of them, all kinds of different cases where they went to heavenly worlds, where they went to a shift in the reality they were in. Overall, what I would say about these little ones is when they come back, or when they're born, when they enter our plane where we are now, where you and I are now, they're not talking so much about where they were. Adults do that. They go into great detail about heavenly worlds and all this kind. Kids don't.
They do.
They're talking more.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking more about all this light that they came from. They're talking about this loving reality that they came from, but they're really focusing on where they are now.
Kids think different. Yeah,
what am I going to do with where I am now?
Right. Well, don't you think, doctor, because, so many with medical science, people and babies and human beings are resuscitated now at the hospital more than any time in history. And we have the internet. And I've said before, there is communication and there is more of a general, I think, education from people like you sharing. So these kids, they've had the near-death experience. When they get a little older, do they start verbalizing it?
Well, right away, as soon as they can. And among the things they verbalize or are wondering is about their parents, about their siblings, about what's going on around them, and they just plain don't understand. They don't understand their brothers and sisters. They don't understand their friends. They don't understand what's going on in the world around them because it's so different from where they came from. So they're coming in with a great deal of curiosity. What is this about this world? What is this about school? School especially. School, it puzzles them to no end why they're winding up in school, and the reason is they know more than their teachers do. They know more than their parents do. They know more than anyone else around them do, because one of the big after effects of these little tiny ones is they come back, most of them, with enhanced intelligence.
Wow.
So this is what we're really looking at, because, hold on, LURA, kids who have a near-death experience between birth and the age of 5, so we're talking about the various little ones, come back, or come in, I should say, they're coming in really different from any other child. So you can't compare these kids with other ages of children. You can't compare them with near-death research, general near-death research. No, these kids are different. They're different because they're coming in with enhanced intelligence, many of them geniuses. They're coming in with synesthesia. Synesthesia is multiple sensing. let me give you a quick little idea of what that's like.
Okay.
I was born with synesthesia. Now, that doesn't mean I was a near-death kid, because I was not. I was just simply born with it. So in the first grade, I was the only kid in school who could smell color, see music, and hear numbers. Get that? It's a different way of sensing. It's multiple sensing, enhanced sensing. They're sensing differently. Yeah, you know, it's right on. It's absolutely real, but it's not real to the people around you. And I was constantly punished in the first grade. Constantly punished. Because everybody else thought I was lying. No, I was telling the truth. So they're coming in with synesthesia. They're coming in with a very different way of looking at the world. They usually know more about the people around them. They don't fit the family. Many times they don't even look like their siblings. The other kids in the family look at them like, what world were you born in? What world did you come from? You don't fit this family. And so the kids are very, very puzzled. They're trying to fit in. Any kid will try to fit in. They try to fit in with the kids in, the neighborhood, their family, their school. And a few do, most do not. And they're just absolutely puzzled. Let me give you an idea of how this can be. One of my cases, she had her near-death experience in the womb. She hadn't been born yet. She had it in the womb as she was being born, while her mother was trying to commit suicide.
Oh my.
Yeah, I ran into a number of oh my's. How do you explain this one?
No, yeah. I mean, of course. So, well, when you were doing this research, you talked to over 300 people, and of course, they were older.
Well, almost 400, dear.
That is
397.
The most extensive list that any researcher. And being a cop's daughter, you came in as a very, very astute investigator, I imagine.
Yeah, I was a cop's kid. I was raised in a police station. I was always observing how everybody else was doing. And my dad was always said to me, the body says more than the mouth does. So you're watching bodies, how they use their shoulders, how they sit, how they walk, what side of their face, how do they talk to you? Does that change when somebody else walks by? Again and again. One of the puzzles, you'll get a kick out of it, one of the puzzles I had as a kid, of course I'm small, and so the interrogation room, in those days they had the old-fashioned, door, lock and key, so you could see through. So I would be watching the people in the interrogation room, and then I'd put my ear up to the the keyhole, and I could hear them talking inside, and invariably the people inside, the person who'd been hurt would say, I just knew if I opened that door, something would happen to me. Or they'd say something like, well, if I got in that car, I just knew something was going to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And invariably they'd say something like this. And I got to the point, LURA, no kidding, I got to the point where I decided all adults are stupid. They're not listening to themselves.
Yeah.
So,
you have that gut feeling sometimes, which I'm sure has a psychic origin. when you meet somebody, that they're trouble or they're, you just get a very, very negative feeling, to stay away or not get yourself in a situation. I call that, following your gut. Do you agree?
Well, we now know scientifically that the heart will respond or know something that's going to happen about maybe 50, 60 seconds, maybe a minute or two before the brain does. The heart knows. The heart has these incredible waves of energy that's going out, and it'll pick up stuff before your brain does. So if your heart is telling you, or you get this feeling in your heart, don't go, then don't go.
Yeah.
We know that now because of all this incredible research that has been done on the heart.
Right. Another thing.
The heart has. I want to add one more thing here. The heart has almost as many brain cells as the brain has. So the heart is really, really smart.
Apparently so. I was wondering, I was very surprised in our prior discussion that when adults have had a near-death experience, only a very small minority experience going through the tunnel. I'm one of those people that did go through the tunnel. When the children had their near-death experiences, how many went in the tunnel, saw a dark tunnel that they traveled through? Was that the norm?
Hardly any.
Really?
Hardly any.
So
they come in
physical reality
with memories of light.
Light.
They come in with memories of light, of life on the other side, and that to them is real. Life on this side is a puzzle. It's like, who's that woman over there? My mother. Sometimes they know their mother, sometimes they don't. But what they have real puzzles with is the siblings, if there are other children in the family, and neighbors, friends down the street.
Mm-hmm.
They try their best, to open up, to get acquainted, to have a conversation, play with them. And it's very difficult because these little kids, most of them, know what's going to happen before it happens.
So
that sort of complicates play.
Well, yeah, your interactions, and you don't have your, you don't know the norm, like, what's expected, like adults do that have negotiated life for years. So when these kids, they have a near-death experience, how many were shown past lives, and what were those implications like?
I can't say how many. That is to say, to give you a figure. I could say maybe about a fourth could remember past lives.
Wow.
What I found is that most of them, the vast majority, were so much involved with the light realms that they really weren't that interested in this side. What they found is that this side it's sort of like a dip in the bucket. They're describing the world as continuous, goes on forever. This incredible life stream. It's a life stream. And in this life stream, this ongoing life stream, every once in a while it takes a dip. That's a life. And then it comes back to the stream, goes on again, takes another dip, and that's a life. So suddenly they're involved in one of these dips, and they have to put up with it and learn and make do in this goofy world. But they as you can imagine, really prefer to stay on the other side because that's the reality. You know, that's the light, that's the love, that's where they want to be. But they take this little dip, and here they are, and you know, there must be a reason for this. So they're going to learn from this. They're going to do everything they can to put up with this, and they do. But it's, you know, it's really, you know, it's really an interesting puzzle for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this very fascinating to study these people, well, whether they're a child at the time, whether they're an adult, whether they're a senior citizen, to study them and find out what was life like for them. Having an experience like this when they were teeny tiny,
Right.
what was life like for them as they were growing up, as they become adults, as they become senior citizens, maybe grandparents? In looking back, what I ask many of them who are older, in looking back, tell me, did this make a difference in your life? Because you had something like this when you were teeny tiny. Did it really make that much of a difference? And of course, as you've already learned some of this, it made a huge difference. Most of these kids were really challenged in being like the kids in school, in dating, in growing up, having a first job, going to college, getting a career, marrying, settling down, having kids of their own, and then going into the years of, you know, being a grandparent and a senior citizen. What I found invariably was
Mm-hmm.
they never got over remembering and wanting to be on the other side. Hence, we got incredible figures here. Let me just give you some of these figures.
I love
It's
it.
going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
74% went on to have successful lives. Some of them became millionaires.
Wow.
The same figure, 74% developed suicide ideation. That is to say, they wanted the other side, not this side. Now, let me hurry up and say here that for a child, suicide is it's not that big of a deal for a little kid. They're thinking of, okay, when I wasn't breathing, I was in this light-filled world with love, and it was just so wonderful. But now that I'm breathing again, I can't get into that world. It's gone. So they think to themselves, aha, the way to get back there is to stop my breathing. They do not think of suicide as being harmful, as being something that would cause pain to their parents.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't think of that at all. It's just a quick trip to get back to the other side. So I have a whole chapter in the book on PTSD because, hey world, we got to wake up to this. We've got to look at suicide ideation with near-death experiencers. Here's another little fact for you. 34% were positive about their NDE. 61% were negative about it because it's all about home. Look at that. It's all about home. guilt for wanting to go back, betrayal for getting kicked out.
Can I ask a
Many
question?
never knew or understood what a human being is or how to be one.
Oh, wow. Let me
Look at that.
I have a little insight. Correct me if I'm wrong. So these kids living in physical reality literally feel homesick for
Homesick for heaven.
yes. Now that I can.
That's what it is. They're homesick for heaven. That doesn't mean that they don't go out in the world and do good things. That doesn't mean that they're not daring. In fact, many of them, hold on here, LURA, many of them become inventors. Many of them get into science. Many of them get into history. It's fantastic what they do with their lives, but they're still homesick for heaven.
That I can understand. That I can actually do too. Yes.
You know, and one of the glitches, because you're an near-death experiencer too, one of the glitches is, and it's a real glitch for them, is this bit about love and light. Many of them do not like to be in near-death groups or go to near-death conferences.
Because
the people there are talking about love and light, and these little kids are grown by now.
yes.
Are looking at these people and are saying, what? You know, that's not an interest. I want to know how to do things. I want to know how to live. I want to know how to succeed. I want to know what I can do with this idea.
Yeah.
There's a chapter in the book called Historical Cases. And it's going to blow you away about what some of these kids, when they grew up, have done. Again, many of them become inventors. Many of them become scientists.
Could you do something for the listeners? You know, please tell us where we can find your book, your website, where you are on Twitter. People need to be able to reach out to you, Doctor.
Oh, especially this book, my dear. Everybody's got to get this book because it's going to blow them away. There is no other book like it in the market anywhere in the world, because this kind of research has never been done before. It is called The Forever Angels, Near-Death Experiences in Childhood and Their Lifelong Impact. You can get this book anywhere, Amazon.com. You can get it from me and my website, www.pmhatwater.com. I also developed 6 children's books from this one. And these children's books are featuring animals, all kinds of animals. They can remember being in the light and coming into their mother's womb and then being born.
The titles
miscarriages, all kinds of things. It's just, for instance, I have one called Winnie Rolls Around. It's about a horse born with a twisted leg. Busy Betty Wiggles. It's all about a monkey discovering that parents were once babies too. There's Oopsie Baby, the skunk with a big tail that falls often and feels different. And it goes on and on. The only place, I don't have an inventory of these. The only place you can get them is on Amazon. It's called the Animal Lights Series.
Oh,
the
wonderful.
Animal Lights Series.
It's so easy.
Plus,
yeah, it's so easy when you go to Amazon. Just put in your name, PMH Dr. Atwater, and there'll be a catalog of all your wonderful books out there. Now, I noticed something that I really liked about this new book of yours. I like the fact that it's on Audible. and it's narrated, because it's wonderful to hear the words. I really enjoyed.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. You mean that's an audio?
Yeah, you're on audio.
My publisher never told me that. That's fun.
I think it's great. I think,
it absolutely is. It is. I didn't know that. That was a surprise to me. And today, I just finished writing my May newsletter. I sent it off to my webmaster. She's going to put it in proper form. And if you want to receive it, any of my newsletters, get on my website, www.pmhatwater.com. Sign up for my newsletters. They're all free. And get my free newsletters.
Well, Dr. Atwater, you have a wealth of information. I'd really like to fine-tune a question. So, these kids, they eventually grow up. What were their did they have increased psychic abilities? Were that something?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's absolutely normal. Let me give you the typical characteristics afterward.
Okay.
Heightened senses, vivid imagination, intellectual curiosity and drive. They come back psychic, intuitive, loneliness, higher IQ, deep capacity to care, great potential for an ethical life, aware of future moments, my book, Future Memory, certainly strong, strongly independent even if shy, and a non-linear development.
Oh my goodness.
So these kids grow up a little bit different. They're not like the typical near-death experiencer.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a little bit different, but they're fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Did they find some of it very, very comforting, knowing that there is an afterlife, a continuation of existence after physical death? Did they take comfort in that? Or had they
that wasn't important to them, LURA, because they still have that memory coming in.
Okay.
So it wasn't. Look, these kids are having experiences when they have no knowledge of a before.
Okay.
So they're coming in with, or I should say that they're coming in still in that other world. So the idea of a before has no meaning to them.
Yes, their perspective's totally different, of course, than an adult.
A totally different approach and awareness.
What professions
were these? Go ahead.
What professions did these children seek out as an adult? Was it a big variety?
They just wanted to know what people were and how to survive here. They want to know what sports is or sports are. So they'll get involved with sports. But they won't understand necessarily the sporting mentality. They just want to get involved with sports. Or they'll get involved with plays or music because they want to explore that. They want to find out what it is. They want to get involved with homemaking and with their moms and dads. But but it's a real puzzle to them how to talk to their moms and dads. It's a puzzle for them how to talk with their brothers and sisters. It's a real puzzle for them. Well, let me give you an example.
Okay.
this is a young girl. She's in high school. Well, no, she was in junior high. And a whole group of kids invited her to get in the car and go with them. And it was the kids that she wanted to know better. And she said no. And they were all quite surprised and went off without her. And he had an accident.
Oh.
She knew they were going to have an accident before they left. Many of these kids have future memory. So they have a sense or a knowing or a feeling of what's going to happen before it happens. Or they'll know whether or not that person is good for them or not good for them. They have a kind of knowing that most near-death experiencers do not have. These are the little kids. Again, they have a foreknowledge sense of reality that is different from you or me. I had to go out and do things to find out what they were.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these kids already know. So why should they do it?
So they do have that homesickness. They do have a profound isolation. Have some of these kids as an adult networked with other like-minded, like-experienced kids, adult kids? Have any of these?
It's hard for them to find them.
Of course.
But if they do, yes. You know, a phone call I got 2 weeks ago. This is from New York City. It's a New York City cop, police officer. He's in his 50s. He got a hold of the book, The Forever Angels. He read it, and he called me, and he was crying. This is a hardcore New York City police officer in his 50s that is crying. And he said, oh, I wish I'd have had this book when I was a kid. I died when I was just a year old. And I had all of this. I could remember everything. I knew everything. I was that kid. And now, finally, when I'm 50 years old, I know I wasn't crazy. There wasn't anything wrong with me. I run into this all the time.
Well, when non-physical reality overlaps into physical reality, these kids, have been there and coming back, they're always dealing with somebody who's only known physical reality. It had to be isolating, and your book is the bridge to learning and to understanding and knowing that these, adults now can figure it out. This mystery.
Well, they finally have an understanding.
Yeah.
Of why they were different. Let me give you another example. I was in Canada, and I was flying back, and this lovely young woman, her assignment was to help the passengers find their right plane. And she was talking 90 miles an hour. And she maybe was all of maybe 21. And she's talking about her childhood and how she just knows things. And she wants to be a scientist. And she wants to get involved in this, that, and the other. And she's going on and on and on. And she said, my parents don't understand me. Nobody else understands me. And she's so happy. And she says, I'm going to get involved with this, and I'm going to do that. And she goes on and on and on. And I say to her, did you have any problems with your birth? Oh, yeah, she said. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I died at birth, and they had to bring me back. And I remember all these things.
Wow.
I started laughing. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one.
Yeah.
You know, these people who have a near-death experience between birth and the age of 5 are just plain different. They look at life differently than you and I do. Even though we're near-death experiencers, they look at life in a very knowledgeable, knowing way. They see things that we don't because they know they're there. And they know how to fix them or make them different or learn more. They're so curious and so knowledgeable. And many of them isolate themselves or become very, very good, very quiet because they don't know how to fit. And so that becomes their challenge. It's how to fit in with the world without the world thinking they're crazy.
Right, right. Yeah.
It's delightful to read about them. It really is. It's absolutely delightful to read about what they go through and grow through, and the kind of lives that they have. If we have time, I'd like to read about this Judy.
Oh, please. That would be a privilege. Yes.
She said, hear this. All of my experiences in this life, whether they appear to be dark or light, are expressions of love, experiences of searching for love. I came into this life with a purpose. This was not known to me until much later in my life, or I would not have been able to truly know the experiences as they were in the moment. What I know today has brought everything full circle. Judy finally came to understand that what she went through for her development was absolutely perfect, and that the parents she had were the right parents, because for her, she needed to go through that and come out the other side. And I'll tell you, today, Judy is the most incredible wife and mother and healer.
How old is
she? She's just so magical and so wonderful.
And what is her age today?
She's in her late 50s.
Okay. My goodness. You know, you had these just wonderful experiences. And you know, Dr. Atwater, after you did these interviews, after you completed the book, after you digested all of this information, what effect, how did it change you writing this book?
It amazed me that we as souls would orchestrate and design all kinds of ways of learning and living. You know, if we're going to go through esoteric studies or metaphysical studies or spiritual studies, we learn life from a certain aspect. But if you're going through a whole series of events, whether pleasant or unpleasant, it's very difficult at that time to really understand what's going on or why. And this kind of study has helped me to understand that, has helped me to understand that nobody is expendable, that nobody is a mistake, that everything that happens to us has a use, and that our challenge is to figure out what that use is and to profit from that, or at least come to a point where we can see that that point had meaning.
Is there an concept? I mean, I've read about it and spoken about it to other people that, even our, small accomplishments here, let's say, doing something really nice for a neighbor, finding a stray kitty and taking her in, or that, it's not a big deal in the physical reality, it's stuff we do, but it's really big over there. And when
it's really big over here as well, because it's good for your soul, it's good for your personality, it's good for who we are as ourselves, that it feeds us. Everything we do feeds us. We just don't profit from the food we eat or what we drink. We profit from or are harmed by everything in life. Even just planting a flower. Even just in today's world, giving food to our neighbor who just lost their job.
Right.
So everything in life is either profit or loss. Everything. We're always going back and forth between profit and loss. And it doesn't it's kind of hard to find words to how this all works.
Yes.
But it does. There's this energy that's going on all the time. That's either lifting or lowering. It's going on all the time. And
I believe you're right.
And every moment is precious. When you do this kind of work, or you go under these kinds, or you have these kinds of experiences, it's like, wow, this is part of this miracle called life.
It's an exquisite learning place. Physical reality is an exquisite teaching reality.
We're always learning. We're always goofing off. we have pluses, we have minuses, but it's all part of this incredible pattern we call life. This incredible opportunity we call life. This incredible miracle we call life.
So I'm saying to the listeners out there, please go and research Dr. PMH Atwater, Dr. Atwater, because, go to her website, view her books, go to Amazon. We've got a pandemic, we've got time, folks, and read and learn some of these things, and, sign up for that newsletter, because in this ever baffling world, this is a lifeline of sanity, of explanation. And I want to say something to you, Dr. Atwater. That even though I'm basically a skeptic a lot of times, I know that you're the real deal. if I died and there was a room that said lecture in heaven that I could enter, and there was the actual room that said heaven, you know me, I'd go to take the lecture first, because I'm always curious, and I want to figure things out and put all the pieces of the puzzle together, because that's how I tick after my near-death experience. That's how I came back with this insatiable curiosity. But people like you have devoted their lives helping the rest of us understand. I just want to say a big thank you. I'm thrilled that you came on my show.
Bless you. Thank you. Bless you, dear.
And the wonderful work that you're doing, and through these books, people are getting all the pieces of the puzzle, and it's important what you're doing and you're sharing. After the pandemic's over, what is your lecture circuit? Where can people actually go to meet you?
All of my lectures have been canceled because of COVID-19.
Oh, gracious.
So all I can say is get on my website. There on the home page, there is my calendar. So if I've got something going, sign up. In the meantime, I've been doing shows like this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing Zoom talks and Skype talks, which are visual. So get on my website and find out what I've already done, because you can access those. I have all kinds of YouTube, my YouTube playlist. So I've got all kinds of YouTubes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So get on www.pmhatwater.com and find out all of this. Yeah.
We're going to be ending the show, but what are your final thoughts about doing this book? What can you say that is the special uniqueness of this book?
It has shown me that life begins at conception, that there's no such thing as a fetus. There is the preborn and there is the born. There's no such thing as a fetus. That life in all its glory
Mm-hmm.
exists even if we can't see it, even if we don't know it or can touch it, it's there. The soul is there. All kinds of life is there. When I go out to my porch outside, my backyard porch, I have these French doors so I can see through.
Mm-hmm.
Get in my next newsletter, the May newsletter that's coming out.
Okay.
There is a picture of my aloe. I bought that aloe plant 2 years ago. It was 6 to 7 inches tall, maybe 8 inches tall. I got it at Walmart. I stuck it in a pot. I put it on my porch.
Okay.
Several pots later, because it kept growing and growing, I had to get bigger and bigger pots. It is a giant. It is a giant.
Ever expanding.
The photos are in my newsletter. It's a giant.
Oh.
And it shows what love is. I love that plant.
And it's thriving.
See how big it is. That's life. That's life, LURA.
Yep.
That's life.
It is. Well,
it is dynamic.
I just want to tell the listeners again, this is a must-read book, so you must read it. I want to thank you for coming on the show, for doing 3 episodes, and when you have your next book, I look forward to interviewing you again. And Dr. Atwater, thank you so much. I'm stopping the show, and I hope that my listeners will continue with the next show. Thank you again.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.